Hey everyone, the last Shoegazer here, bringing you a movie review for This review is a part of my good buddy Joe, TheHORRORman's Saturday Slashback series, and this week we are reviewing medical slashers. So I chose to check out a film I haven't seen yet that's been in my collection for some time, and I watched 1992's Dr. Giggles. This stars Holly Marie Combs from Charmed and Larry Drake playing Dr. Giggles, who also stars in the Darkman films. This is definitely a unique one. I wouldn't say it's great by any means. Definitely has that 90s vibe that, you know, kind of connects to some familiar films, maybe like a little bit of the Scream franchise, even some like dreamlike sequences from like a Nightmare on Elm Street. And even like a little bit of like a Re-Animator kind of vibe going on. It's definitely more silly than it is creepy, but there are, you know, plenty of creepy, pretty over-the-top, intense sequences throughout. But it seems like every time Dr. Giggles is on camera, he's either giggling annoyingly, like not even really in a creepy way. It was just more silly and not really, I don't know, it didn't work for me. He didn't creep me out. He had kind of a creepy look, a creepy presence, but you know, Pennywise pulled it off. You know, whether you like you know, the old version of Pennywise or the new one, you know, Curry or Skarsgård. You know, the silliness of Curry's performance, I feel like, was sadistic enough that it just stuck and resonated in such a terrifying way, at least for me, and I know for many as well. But his performance here for Dr. Giggles, it just didn't really work for me. I feel like it was overly silly. Every single line that he said was just really you know, like quippy and sharp and goofy and, you know, puns out the wazoo. Very, very cliche, overly cliche. And, you know, I think they meant to kind of do that, but it just, I don't know, it kind of took me out of it early on, but I stuck with it and it was entertaining. So definitely, you know, check this out, but go into it knowing that you're going to be getting more goofiness than you are, you know, straight up horror. But yeah, it has a lot of cool settings. You know, we start in a psych ward with a pretty shocking opening that pretty much sets the scene here for good old Dr. Giggles, and we quickly find out why he's doing what he's doing. Some family you know, experiences and issues going on there that he's kind of, you know, acting out of. A little bit of revenge and mixed with craziness and very unstable. And some, you know, 90s grungy, very hip characters kind of, you know, come into the mix here, and just has such a cheesy, corny 90s kind of style. But yeah, it was fun overall. But we moved from a psych ward to a high school very briefly, and then a lot of this film happens at Dr. Giggles' you know, family home. His father being the, you know, crazy doctor, and sort of like a private hospital, private practice, but you know, while it looks sort of like a haunted house that's all kind of like boarded up, yet still very accessible from like the main road, which these like high schoolers are kind of exploring, trying to kind of dig up stuff from the past. You know, it's kind of silly that all of a sudden, you know, a lot of what we see is all these full-blown laboratories and treatment rooms and waiting rooms, all kind of used in a really cool, creepy way, kind of atmospheric at times. It's just sort of like, you know, what kind of a facility looks like this or has ever looked like this. But, you know, it's just a movie, and I think they did a cool job with it, but still kind of out there. Everything in this film is just kind of out there and just kind of misses the mark. While it's still fun, and I would recommend checking it out, it's not one that I'm going to go back and revisit time and time again, or even consider upgrading. I've seen some different like Blu-ray editions, but I'm not going to upgrade. I'm happy with this edition, and I'll definitely hang on to it, but probably not going to check it out too much more after this, with repeat viewings. But yeah, continuing with the settings there, I think that's kind of what I was most impressed with. And the overall look, there was a lot of really cool, unique kind of perspective shots, and you know, like one of the ones was like a wooden stick that, you know, a doctor uses to check your mouth. He kind of put that in a girl's mouth and said, you know, open up, say ah, and she did. Then like you're actually seeing it from inside her mouth out, and it looked really cool. And some other shots kind of like that, you know, very, very creative, but not really necessary, but it kind of just added to the goofiness of it all. But we got a carnival that's like, you know, magically and, you know, just kind of randomly situated right near this, you know, doctor's house. And I love carnival settings, and it was cool to see that in this, but it was like, what the heck? And of course the teens are hanging out there and whatnot, and then, you know, going into a fun house and a house of mirrors within that area, and everything just, you know, kind of always pulls back to you know, shots of like a quaint small town with the street lights and fog, and just kind of makes you think of, once again, like a Nightmare on Elm Street or like the Scream films, maybe even a little bit of Halloween. So, you know, all of those elements are pretty cool thrown into the mix, but yeah, just overall, I wouldn't give this like a high rating. Yeah, if I would say like out of 10, I'd probably give it maybe a 6, if that. But anyway, check out Dr. Giggles. Let me know if you're a fan of this film, if you've seen it, if you have similar thoughts as myself. I'm kind of curious to hear other people kind of weigh in on this one. So yeah, that's my review for this week's Saturday Slashback installment. Excited to see all of your reviews, and until next week, have a good one.